Mr. Harper, you gorgeous beast. How the devil are you?
Really good, yeah. I would like to say rest and recovered after 2 weeks in Australia, but what a flight! We took the so I've been my best mate lives in Australia, and we've been out. He runs a bit of a music label, and he was across my wedding last year, and he was running a festival over in Perth. So we went out to Perth for 4 or 5 days. We thought, right, we've been to Perth, we've done it. Let's go to Brisbane. But nobody warns you about the time difference again. So it's 8 hours to Perth, 10 hours in Brisbane. We then took a 2 hour drive down to Byron Bay, went to the pub, ordered food. They said, oh, it shuts at 5. We're like, oh, it's only 10 to 4, it's okay. What are you talking about? It's 5 o'clock. And we're like, we've only driven 2 hours down the road.
Wow.
It's just nuts. Like, but I know we've not really talked about property already, but we you see road signs like Sydney, 2,500 kilometers, Cairns, 3,000 kilometers. You're like, that's like driving London to Dubai. I was like,
Wow.
But anyway, long story short about the fatigue thing. So it was 17 hours straight to Perth, which was doable, comfortable. It's 14 hours from Brisbane back to Dubai alone, and then from there it's 8 hours back into London, and then it's 6 hours up to the northern wall up here in Newcastle. So I poured myself in my house at 8:45 last Wednesday at night after leaving Australia 7 a.m. Tuesday UK time, and it's only just where are we now? Wednesday. I think Monday night's the first full night because I've been waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, wide awake, thinking.
Yeah, that is tough. That is tough. My daughter's about to go out to Australia, actually. Her friend's just moved out there, so she's going out soon, funnily enough, to Perth. But it was bad enough me coming back from Vegas, that being an 8 hour time difference. That was enough trying to get back into the rhythm of things, but that sounds brutal.
Well, it's not so much. I think it was just more. I've never really had jet lag. I don't really know what jet lag is. The worst jet lag I've had is coming back from the west coast of America, like Vegas, or I've been in Vegas a couple of times and come back. I don't know if it's the alcohol or just the time difference, but I just think, whoa, wiped out like 45-year-old man on his knees thinking, what am I doing? Use your last rodeo, Al, don't do it again.
You're also in a desert, and in all of that, I didn't realize, but in every single one of the casinos, they're pumping oxygen in to keep you awake. So I was thirsty the whole time. I could not quench my thirst the entire time I was there.
Oxygen and no windows with free alcohol if you're betting. So I don't know why people like Vegas.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We're not going to talk about it, okay?
Yeah, it was good. So I'm in good shape coming back from Australia. It was good to get away, and back. I tell you what, it's challenging leaving a business for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I bet.
What Laura did, actually, a fantastic job. In fairness, while I was away, you just come back and you realise, shit. Hold on a minute. The benefits of running your business are obviously, as we all know, are awesome. But just turning that phone off, which I'm never good at, really. My phone was never off. I was on WhatsApp or emails, and I was helping Laura with social media stuff in the background. But just being able to just grab the phone 24/7, it's different. Like it's like you lose a limb.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's about leverage, and I've got leverage in the business, and I'm incredibly fortunate to have Laura there. But it's a challenge. Like so Tuesday, Wednesday, I think it was just Sunday there. I was back up to kind of right. It's like I've not been away now. I'm back. The phone's ringing. I'm now back in control of my diary rather than having, and even small things like that, letting someone else know your diary is difficult. Even if it's your wife, you're like, why have you done that? Why is that in at that time?
It's a hard thing, Ali, isn't it? It's a hard thing to give up sometimes. I always found it very difficult when, like having like a PA and things like that. I just couldn't. It didn't feel natural to me to just give that over to anybody. It was just like you always used to have to ask me anyway. I was just like, well, I might as well do it myself then. I've always struggled with that.
Yeah. It's like if you're agents using chat GP or whatever for the write-ups. I'm like, whatever the melee. I mean, I mean, I appreciate the estate agency in the property game is we're hurtling forward at 100 miles an hour and we're revolving every hour, but there's certain bits I think, well, I don't know, like I could never let someone else do a write-up. There's a guy, I can't remember his name. You probably know his name, Neil somebody, who does write-ups for people.
Oh, Neil Winfield, is that right? Yeah,
that's the guy.
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's good.
I think I've seen his stuff and it looks really good, but I keep being, Neil, I'm sorry, I'm not letting go of it because, and I've seen his work, I've seen what he does. I don't know. I think maybe Mike. I don't know if Michael's used him in the past, but anyway, people have used him, and I've looked at it, but I've thought there's just one thing I'll never give up because, and it's not that I'm some sort of Wordsworth. I've barely grasped the English language myself. Never mind having to write it out, but it's just I'll never let go of that. So yeah, getting back into the flow and taking back control of the frontline operation is good to be back.
Well, it's really lovely to catch up with you again. We haven't spoken for a little while, obviously. So I'd just take you back just a little bit. Just for those that obviously don't know your journey, I guess, into a state agency and how you've got to where you are now. Could you kind of try to put that in a bit of a summary for us?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. It's a bit of a story of mine, but so I left uni at the age of 20, studied architecture. Parents got divorced, struggled on the theory bit with I was studying architecture. And I said this would be a short story, but it probably won't be now. the I don't care about the old stuff like the Romans and all that jazz. I didn't care about the history of the architecture. I just wanted to be the next guy to design this shard or whatever, like really exciting stuff. But so I failed the theory in architecture at the same time, and I just thought life's gone shit here. So I took a bit of a break and I took a 1 year summer job in Magaluf as a holiday rep. 7 years later, I came back from Ibiza. So, but the story behind that is I came back as a really good salesman because I didn't sales was if somebody said to me at the age of 20 you're a good salesman, I was like, no, I played rugby and I go to uni. That were the two things I was really good at: drawing, technical drawing, and playing rugby. But then went off. And it seems silly, talking about selling bar crawls, selling club tickets, selling booze cruises, whatever. But you had to persuade 350 people getting off a 5 a.m. red eye from Gatwick that it was a good idea to up in 3 hours to go in the piss with you on a boat. So, so I did that for quite a long period of time. But the benefits of that were I had a villa, I had a jeep. I walked in every restaurant and bar in Ibiza and Magaluf, all over Spain and Europe where I was working, didn't pay a penny because I was relatively senior at Thomas Cook Club 8 and 30 at the time. But when you look at the bank balance, I got to the age of 27 and thought, got no money. I'm living the best life. And all my mates back home were like, oh, I'd go back for in between summer and winter. And they'd be like, oh, tell us more about Ibiza. And they were soaking up. And I'm like, hold on a minute. You're a doctor. You live in a 4-bed house and you've got a Porsche. You're 25, 26. And I'm like, I'm a holiday out with a good tan and no bank balance. So anyway, I walked into recruitment. So I walked into, I think it was AMR in Guildford. I said, listen, I want a job. I don't know what to do. And they just sat down and said, listen, what have you got? What do you do? They said, have you thought about being an estate agent? And that's how I get into estate agency. By default, a little bit of a glimmer of property related degree from architecture back in 19 Oatcake. And then 7 years of selling stuff to people. They were like, and you seem to be confident in what you talk about. Also, try estate agency. So day one, walked into Andrews and Partners in Carshalton as a negotiator. And then from there, it was history. Really. Within 2 years, I believe, 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. I was running. Well, wasn't running. I went for. I was kind of headhunted towards KFH because the way it worked, it's changed now. But at the time, KFH wanted everyone who's beating their staff. So when I was going out listing, I was out listing their guy, and they were like, "Come and join us." So I had the choice to either follow a good friend of mine at the time because he worked with me at Andrews in Carshalton, then at Streatham, and the broker came with us. So we were kind of a terrible three, really. We did everything together, drinking and working, but we were really good at what we do. But I thought, and then I was offered a cold start in East Dulwich, and I loved that. I walked in an interview with Julian Peake at the time, and he said, "What's your goal?" I said, "I want to run one of your branches in the next 6 months." He went, well, "Are you sure?" Sure enough, 6 months later, handed me the keys to Forest Hill. And then 2 months later, 3 months later, the manager at East Dulwich left, and I was like, "I'll have that then," because East Dulwich at the time was quite a specific audience, very demanding, very. Everyone knew it. And this happens all over the country. Everybody knew the value of the house more than the estate agent, but because there'd been the assistant manager there for, from the cold start perspective, for 6 months, wasn't really a lot, but I knew more than other managers with regards to that area. So like, we're going to give you the golden ticket, Al. We're going to give you a £1 million office, but don't cock it up. So within 5 years, we were up at the £1 million mark. Then I was hungry for more, and I think it's, in fairness, I think it's still the same at KFH. So I left KFH in 2015. So we're 9 years on. It's still the same regional director level, and I have a huge amount of respect for these people. Julian Peake, Lisa McKenzie, I think Rob's still there. There's a fourth one in Central, I think, but they're going nowhere. And I remember at the time there's 52 branches at KFH. I remember thinking all of these guys are superstars. I don't know. I'm not going to comment on what KFH is like now, but at the time it was KFH or Foxtons in London. They were the major brands. You want to work for one of them.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to work for Foxtons. I didn't see myself in a Mini, if I'm being honest. But it was like, I work for KFH. This is a big deal, and as great as I think I am, there are some awesome managers here ahead of me. The Justin Baudets of this world, who was Kennington, part of the furniture. Danny over at Battersea. There was just some big names, and I thought, I'm not going anywhere here, and I want to move. So I spoke to the guys at Devil Smith. They put me in touch with Giles and Dan Atkinson McLeod. Took over their. I became a sales director there, but Brexit hit. June 2016, they announced Brexit.
Yeah.
And they were like, Ali, we can't sustain. So I was made redundant there. Then where did I go? Then I had a time with eMove, Spicer Heart, Porterbricks, just all at senior level, but I never really found for a period of about 3 years, the CV looks like a Chinese takeaway menu. And it was something I'm not very proud of, but I bounced around. Through my own, it was more I just wasn't settled because I'd come from Andrews, who looked after me. KFH was just like a second home.
Mm.
And then I kept looking for that, and I thought, shit, what have I done? Because there's still guys I work that are still running very big bands through KFH now, but I don't regret leaving KFH because of where we are now, and I'm sure we'll come on to that. But I was leaving the comfort of KFH, which felt like a really stable powerhouse, to then slip into a smaller business, but for a bigger role. Then Spice of Heart, that was probably the most corporate thing I've ever been in. And I appreciate they're a big business. I'm not going to slag them off, but it just was not for me, that environment.
It's an interesting one though, Ellie, isn't it? The fact that you were saying that it is so important to be able to do your best work. You have to feel like you belong somewhere, don't you? You've got to have that settled environment, haven't you? Where it's kind of fulfilling everything, isn't it? It is fulfilling your own personal ambition alongside the people that you're with, and I suppose the values of the company as well, right? They're all so important.
We were really fortunate, Mark, at KFH back again, I don't know what it's like now, but at the time, Julian Peake, I think he's still there, Julian Peake, and he had his 18 managers, and he treated us like children. Not in a bad way. What I mean is, we could do no wrong. Right. He said, it's your business, and he backed us to the hilt. Not that we all did anything illegal or did something stupid, but what I mean is, we just had an absolute powerhouse of a mentor who said, you go for it, Al. I'm the director and I'll help you, but it's your business. And he just let us go, and he backed us all the way.
It's empowerment, isn't it?
And it was because, looking back now, I don't believe that kind of branch setup exists now, where the middle management or the directors, the regional director level, say,
it's kind of against that corporate feel that you might think a KFH or those types of businesses would actually operate. I mean, this is news to me. I didn't know it kind of worked that way. I mean, personally, all credit to that individual for running it that way. I mean, that's probably why there was so much success, and maybe why it still is, because it just, that empowerment to individuals to go and feel like they can go out there and put their own stamp on something. I mean, that is, with the right characters, though. I will say that you've got to have the talent. Yeah,
I mean, there was some brilliant, and there still are. But I think a lot of them have gone on to bigger and better things, or moved on to different directions. But I look back at that management table now, and in the latter years when I was holding senior roles and I was interviewing people, you measure, the yardstick for me was always, you couldn't run a KFH office, so you're not good enough for me. and that sounds really snobby, but that's I was brought into agency that way. You had to be number one. You had to be the best of best, and it was all. And yes, it sounds very corporate. Why are they outlisting you? Why are they outlisting you? And if you think about my journey into KFH, it was like my current manager will back, but hold on, this assistant manager down there is kicking your ass. I want him, which was good because was good for me in the way that I came from a very competitive background through rugby, and it was like you to be in the starting 11. You want to be selected for your team, your country, your nation, the region. You got to be the best at best. Yeah. So when somebody calls you and says, or a recruiter calls you and says, your name's come across my desk because Julian Peake would like to speak to you, I was like, shit, the bed. Oh, that's just good news.
Yeah.
Went in and I was like, I'm not cocking this up. This is the biggest half hour of my career at the time. And then off we went. But yeah, so you use KFH is probably the biggest. It's kind of carved into the States as it was, because the good thing about Julian at KFH was, and don't get me wrong, you probably worked this out already. You'll know this already from working with me, but I'm very route one as far as I know what I'm doing. But at the same time, he taught me to be a better leader, because as an assistant manager, I was an absolute horror to work with. I walked over you. It was deals at all costs, and I was fantastic. I won awards. I was the best and best, but my team hated me, and they were like, "You're never going to be a manager at all because everyone thinks you're a dick." So I had to completely change.
I don't think you're a dick. I don't think you're a dick.
No, because this is if you spoke to me 10 years ago, you were like, we don't want this guy in a podcast. No way. No way. but it was that kind of, right, I'm just going to jump in and say, I'm not going to tell you how to run your business, Al, but if you want a seat at the table, you better start giving the monkeys about who's around you then. So that evolved, and it changed my management style, changed my leadership style. And I think that's where, when I went to Axel McLeod, went to Spice of Heart, went to some time with Russell at eMove, I was just like, I don't have the caliber of people around me to perform at what I know I can do. I know I'm capable of leading people to war, and it's like, we're running through this wall, and they're like, okay, cool. How fast are we going then? But the team around me in those different businesses, I didn't have the resource. And I'm not saying that as an excuse, but it's important to understand, I guess, KFH was like, we want the best, Al, so you go and find the best, and we'll back you all the way. Yes, if I remember correctly, I think there was a bit of a recruitment budget, but big enough to go and pick up anyone I wanted in London. Anyone that came walking down Lordship Lane, East Dulwich. They were like, I want to work with you, Al. I was like, well, that's fine. There's 10 of you want the seat, though. But I didn't have the same. And I'd gone to this Axel McLeod thing thinking, yeah, it's fine. I've done a cold start here. This will be fine. I've seen this. I'm running a 9-man team here. Your offices have got 1 or 2, 3 people in them. Don't worry. But when I picked up the reins, I was like, oh Christ, these people call themselves estate agents, and that sounds really abusive. So if I apologise now, but it's important to understand. I was like, this is what a branch should look like, and I was kind of cocooned into this 9-man powerhouse that I was running, this triple fronted thing on Lordship Lane. But anyway, I've waffled on. I sound like a KFH fan. I should have a KFH uniform on.
See, this is all actually adding up. I can't believe we've never had this conversation before, actually. But I guess we've never done a podcast before. So
that's where it came from. That's where it came from. If you're not number one, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not about taking part, but now it is a little bit about taking part. But then I was like, I was trained to be, you're number one, Al. You've got to be number one. And we got there, and we maintained that. And the team around me, my assistant manager is going on to run a fantastic team now. Tyrone is running Crystal Palace, phenomenal estate agent. But they all came from this. We've got to be good. And that's where I skipped from a left KFH. I skipped through 2 or 3 roles there, thinking I just can't find it. And then Chris came along with Keller. Chris came along via Matt Fettick, and so we spent some time at Keller Williams, and then it wasn't working out for different reasons. And I was like, so I guess maybe one of the questions you're going to ask, but I'll answer the question before you ask it. Why did I leave KW to go to ESP? The thing was, it wasn't so much ESP. It was more about, I found myself pouring into Michael Bailey, Josh Smith, some big names that were doing fantastic things. But then I was looking at my paycheck, and I've opened this door now. But what I mean is, I was just thinking, I'm not getting paid enough to do this.
Yeah.
And if they're making all this, and they're superstars, but doing not. But I'm not going to take any credit for what they're doing. But what I mean is, I'm the guy in the background poking them at 7 o'clock in the morning, saying, "Time to go up. Time to do the 10 laps. Let's go. Let's go." The coach in the background thinking, "Stuff it. You guys, I'm going to go and do my own thing now." And at the time, EXP just offered me something that said, they just opened the door and said, "Go, go. None of this." And I'm not going to be rude about Kelvin's or anything. But it was like, just go. Well, just you know what you're doing, just go. And I've gone, and now I'm like,
Well,
it's never been better.
Well, that's where I want to get to. I want to talk about how you did it, what you're doing now, what business looks like, what the future is. But I just want to quickly come back just a little bit. One of the things I remember about you when we'd have our team meetings, as team leaders and sort of, discuss, how we can grow together. One of the things I remember so much about you is your passion, obviously, but saying, why do I want it more than these people? Because obviously, yes, you've got your Michael Baileys and your Josh Smiths that actually were listening and were doing exactly what they needed to do and were having the success, which is why you're looking at your paycheck and going, hang on a minute, I could be doing the exact same thing and earning a lot more, which I totally get. But equally, you've got other people that are in the model that want to obviously have their own business, but they're not taking action on it. And your frustration was, why do I want it more than these people? And I want to just spend a little bit of time on that before we get to your journey, where you are and what you've achieved, because obviously not everybody's going to be hugely successful as a self-employed agent, whether you have Keller, EXP, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to be, and you've absolutely touched on it just by starting your story about being competitive and wanting to be the best and the foundations that you had with rugby and KFH. But, this isn't for everyone. This isn't for the faint-hearted, and you need a certain type of personality and skill set to make this work. So why do you think it is that sometimes as leaders as well, we do want it more than actually the agents themselves?
There's not a straight answer. I think, stereotyping out, leaders in these businesses have all tasted success. They know what success feels like, looks like, and walks like. The whole walks like a duck. It's a duck. So these guys know, and I knew what success looked like, and I knew what I was capable of, and I knew I was giving everything. And I mean, every single. I was opening the playbook. I gave the Michaels, the Joshes, the Hillsies, anyone who was willing to listen. I gave them all the gold. And was like, you guys are listening. But then had other people who were big listeners, but they just didn't take action. I was like,
yeah,
what's going on? Like, why? I don't get it. Why am I in a call at 10 o'clock with you and you're still in your flipping pajamas or bare chested eating toast and coffee? And don't get me wrong, that's up to them. But I'm like, and this you're going to sound really selfish, but I said, my income's tied to you, and you're sitting there eating toast, forgot about script practice, and it's not about script practice. What I mean is, they just weren't, let's go, and I think that comes from, and it's not for everybody, because there are really talented estate agents across all models who are not a volume-based agent, and I get that. I'll never ever fall into that category, because I'm like, whoa, we're climbing Everest as quick as possible. I'll race you there. But I appreciate, and that's where coming back to my comment about Julian at KFH saying, Ali, not everyone's like you, remember. I've come to respect and understand that. But the role I had with KW London Bridge was very much tied to my income goes up significantly if these guys take action. And there wasn't enough people taking action. It was the same as Spice of Heart and Fairness. That was the same. I was a performance coach there for the listings coach, and I needed all 25 of them to perform. It wasn't like, well, we'll pay a percentage of some. It's all or nothing.
Yep.
And it was just like, no, hold on a minute, stop. I can't. My income's tied to whether they can be arsed to get out of bed or not. And that's where I was like, there's a disconnect here. This doesn't work. There's not enough like-minded people. And that's fine. I get that, and that's the same with Keller, with the EXP. I imagine it's the same with other businesses, the agency and whatever. And you've got the guys that want to be elite. Like they want to be the icons of EXP or the cappers or the whatever the OPs would call. They want to be the top of the ladder, and I get that. But there's other people that are just like, I'm happy just doing a listing a month,
Yeah.
so that's fine then. But with respect, you're not in my lane then, because I'm going this way, and I'm uprooting trees on the way, and I'll help anyone that's on my journey. And it's not that I won't help the other people. It's more, that sounds really horrible, but it's more, there's a huge disconnect. Not disconnect, everyone's gone different paths, and that's where there's a huge learning curve. And I believe, right or wrong, the way the way Keller Williams was set up, the way the business I was in, there was no room for, okay, you only want to do one listing a month. Okay. And that's where I was I was the wrong person. And it may be that I was just the wrong person for that seat at the time. But then the flip side, I was like, I'm obviously the right guy, because look, Michael's killing it here. We had extreme success, or not at all. There was no kind of what I would call a B team. There was the A team, and then there was the C and the D team. And I was like, but the C and the D team are listening to the same stuff the A team's listening to. But they just, it's more about the motivation to take action. And it depends. It comes down to what you measure as an individual, whether it's a bit like, for me, at the minute, I'm measuring different things, but it's not like, if I go back to corporate agency for a second, I think about what used to get prizes for the top lister, the top banker. So here's a question to pose: is who's the best estate agent? The guy that banks 350 grand from 3 listings, or the guy that banks 150 grand from 100 listings? My measure is the 100 listing guy's better estate agent, because he's taken a bigger share of his market. So there's more people want to work with him. And I'm not saying that's the right or wrong answer, but that's my opinion on things, where who's doing more volume. Now that doesn't mean that people who are not doing volume are not good estate agents. No way, shape or form. But remember, everything I've spoke about is, I just want to be the best I can be, and marginal gains every single day. And I still take it now. Right now, if I lose a listing, I'm like, what have I done there, Laura? What have I done? And I look at it and I think,
So how to do the kind of volume that you're doing now, because obviously, as you said, you did leave and you've started your own business, and you and Laura have a fantastic business, and we can talk more about what that looks like now. Absolutely. And I definitely want to get some value from you as to what you went and did first. And, we want to make sure, anybody listening to this that's thinking about starting their business, what would your advice be as the first thing they do? But what I'm keen to sort of understand is, if you are a volume guy, what leverage is in your business to make sure that you are also the best at customer service and you've got the time to do that?
Good question. So I'll kind of argue myself there and say, yes, I am a volume guy, but I'm not a volume guy. So I am not going to be the top. I don't want to be the guy in my town or my region that takes on the most listings. It's not, and that's where I guess there is confusion. So for me, I'll turn down listings, and that's a huge thing. We can talk about that, because that's a mass. I find, again, KFH, I would never have ever turned a listing. No way, I'll take it. Tie in a 60-week contract in. I'm selling you because I know I have 9 animals in my office that are going to just pound your door with viewings. Whereas now, I'm more of a quality over quantity guy, but from a volume perspective, I still want to be a guy that outsells anyone else in this town. So coming back to my comment earlier on, Mark, about who's the better agent, 100 listings or 3 listings, but the one who's making the most money. For me, I'm the guy that's making the most money in my town, but I'm also outselling the rest on volume. So they'll list 100 and sell 40. I'll list 55 and sell 42. So my quality is far greater, because I'm affording more time to my client to work very closely with them on what's the right strategy, what's the right pricing point. And there is an element of dictatorship to what I say to people, as far as, and I've said this to clients, believe it or not, don't invite a decorator into your house and paint the house yourself. You've asked my opinion. I don't want to, with respect, if you want to tell your agent what you want to sell for, there's 3 or 4 high street agents who'd love your business. Love your business. You want to work with me, this is my advice. This is my strategy. This is what's worked with the last 3 years. This is why I'm the most recommended agent in town, because this works. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I changed my strategy to do what Mrs. Jones thinks is the best way. Mrs. Jones has moved house twice in 50 years.
Yeah, I
I've
love that.
sold more than that. I've sold more than that before breakfast. So, with respect, this is what, and that's where the customer service is there, as well as doing volume. I know that's a bit of a funny answer, Claire, but I'm doing volume as far as I ensure the listings that come to market are saleable and they sell.
But
And
what you're
that's
doing,
not,
Ali, it sounds like you're setting that expectation basically within the listing, aren't you? You're prepared to walk away because the expectations are so clear by even your language there, which is brilliant. Because when you have to go to them and say, look what I've delivered, here's the evidence, you know, it may need a price drop at this stage. They're actually going to listen to you at that stage, aren't they?
well, yeah. I mean, so there's a few different things. There's not a one at it, Mark. So the price reductions. I think I've dropped 5 price reductions in 3 years because of my pricing strategy. So if I went, I'll give you a very good example. So I bought a house back in August, right? They were out viewing with me. The reason it didn't come to market at the time was ex-partner's property fell through, or whatever. But anyway, I bought the house at 175. I said, we're going to offers over 175, and we'll sell between 175 and 180. And that offers over thing, I'll come into that in a little bit more detail shortly. Anyway, they come on the market in January with another agent, and I texted her and went, Gemma, have I pissed you off? She was like, no, Ali, I'm buying through a new build, and I've got to use other agent, but they've gone on at 190. And I was like, right, okay, shoot. That's not going to sell because you're one of the styles that doesn't have the hallway. I've just sold one with a hallway up the road at 184. So anyway, long story short, it came on the market the other day with me, offers over 175, sold day one, off Facebook, didn't even put it online because I knew who the client was that was going to buy it. And that's because, and that's not, I didn't undervalue the property. I knew what it was going to sell for based on all the other comparables. If there's a house up the road with a hallway that's bigger, with a garage and a utility room that's selling between 185 and 190, you're not 190 because you don't have an integrated garage. You don't have a hallway. And the client knew this. But where I'm going with this is my pricing strategy has always been offers over. And I take massive advantage of the right move price brackets.
Yep.
So
yeah, definitely.
It's not so much now the way the market is. The market's still busy, but one of the biggest success stories I've had was back in height of 21, 22 market was absolutely flying. I thought a house was going to sell for 110, 115. I said to the client, trust me, we're going to offers over 100 because there's a bigger audience looking at 100 than there is at 110. Trust me, the house sold at 137 grand.
Wow. That's a
And
huge percentage.
that couldn't happen now with a 30 grand over asking. But what I mean is,
Sure.
I'm still getting an absolute minimum. And clients are still saying to me now, yeah, but Ali, what if buyers always knock you down? I went, not me, they won't. Because I do 100% of the viewings. That'll never change. Again, coming back to the write-ups thing, I believe I'm the best negotiator for that client. I've sat in a lounge, we've come to an agreement. Therefore, when it comes to negotiating the deal, I know what you and me have talked about, and I know what your expectations are, and I know how to exceed them. So if I say if I believe a property is based on evidence, and I guess it's snowballed now because we're three years in, I have sold more properties than anyone else in my town. So I have the biggest bank of comparables. I've got all the surveyors on speed dial. Well, they all call me, Ali, what's your thoughts on this? And I've been honest. I've sometimes kicked another agent in the nuts a bit and went, oh, it's not worth that. we sold, we won, you've oversold that one. But I've got all the comps, so I can say with confidence to my client, I've never brought out a right move chart, but I've always said, well, I sold this, and this. And the chances are they already know that because 100% of my business right now is recommendation. 100%. And I'll openly admit, I don't really do a huge amount of lead gen. My lead gen is Facebook and speaking to people. That's it. Don't do leaflets, don't do any other generic stuff that I preached about at KFH and Carol Williams and all that. It's just, when somebody calls me out, I'll sit and I'll say, remember, have the other agents been recommended? Well, the other agent said this. I went, okay, but do you think you're going to get that though? And that's where, if they say, well, I know you said I want to work with you at 190, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not taking a listing then.
I've got to ask you, so now that you've been doing this for obviously 3 years and you've got all this comparable evidence and everything, and that's fantastic to be able to go into the living room with that. But what about before you had that 3 years of experience and you being the most sought after agent in the area? What were you saying in the living room then when you didn't have those comparables?
Confidence and process, Claire. Confidence and process, because when we moved up here to Newcastle, Northumberland, I was still working with Chris. I was still coming down to London.
I remember, yeah.
And we were out. We were out with friends, and we sold a house in London. We bought a couple of properties up here, or whatever. I can't remember what way it was, but I remember thinking, this isn't normal. These estate agents, surely they're having a bad day, because I was used to London. I was used to everyone's got to be. So we didn't talk about customer service in London on paper. You know what I mean? Yeah, there was customer service, but that just became standard because the competition was so fierce. You had to be good.
Yeah.
Whereas here, there were just 20-year-old, 20, 30-year-old, 40-year-old estate agent businesses that were complacent. And I was like, right, you deserve better. And I first thing I did, I went to Facebook with my face on a video and said, you need better. When's the last time your estate agent called you? I'll do this for you. Where's your floor plan? Your agent's taking photos on an iPhone. There are professional photographers here because I've been here a month and I already know two that want to work with me. So we can do. And it wasn't so much I was saying the other agents were crap. It was more, this is what I'm going to do from the get go. You have a floor plan, a video tour, professional photos. You get me. You get me. I will be the guy. And if I'm brave enough to stand here in the middle of the village common and tell you how good I am and what I'm going to do, I will not let you down. And I still do it now. 0-week contract. 0-week contract, because I'll back myself all the way. And I've never, ever, ever lied to a client to win the business. I say now. Back then, obviously, corporate agency was different. You had to win at all costs. Now, it's still horrible to think in those days you would tell a client what they wanted to hear to win the business. The competition still are, whereas I'm not. I'm not telling our client what they want to hear. I'm telling the client what I believe that I can stand behind, because I'll never ever put myself in a position where property doesn't sell. It's my fault. It's not theirs. Whereas if I took that property at 190, for example, and it didn't sell, your price not mine. Never, ever, ever will I do that. And I'll never put myself and say, we tried that, we should have brought the price down. And that's where I said earlier on, Mac, about I probably only had about 5 price reductions, but I've held my hands up and I've said, I got it wrong.
You didn't need them because you priced it correctly in the first place.
Yeah, I got it wrong, Mr. and Mrs. Client. We're going to have to bring the price down.
Yeah.
Wrong. We've done 15, 20 viewings. It's not worked.
So when you went out there, Ali, with this confidence, which we can obviously hear in your voice now, right? It's just it's so obvious. But when you went out there and you told people, like, your advert could be improved by this, that, and the other, what actually was the activity that you did? Was you door knocking? Was you sending leaflets? Was you, because you can't just pick up the phone and say hi? So how did you penetrate that to get out there and get those first, let's say, 5 listings?
Comp slips, success, like 5 weeks. So I did it for 6 months, Mark, and then I didn't have to because the business just went from there.
So you were consistent for 6 months with handwritten comp slips?
Handwritten comp slips and letters through Loop Prospecting. So EXP have got Loop Prospecting where they give us all the data, and I just pressed a button, printed out letters, stuck a second-class stamp on it, out it went.
Yeah.
Didn't pay any attention to addresses. It was just done. Computer says send, it's gone. But I picked what I perceived to be the best 20 properties on the market. So remember, at that point, I'm like, it's my own business. What do I want? What listings do I want on my Facebook page? And I said, those 20. So I went after them. And they had to be, so the qualification had to be freehold, had to be a minimum of, I think it was 2 or 3, I think it was 3, maybe 2-bedroom houses. There's maybe a couple of sexy 2-bed houses in there. But no, it didn't matter about price. It was just, I wanted, it would look good. Because if you think, I don't know if you look, but on my Facebook page, I take a front shot for a coming soon. I needed it to be a good looking property. So I went after them. So week 1, Comstat was, hi, my name's Ali. A house that yours should have sold by now. Let's have a chat. Just a kind of drop thing. Second one, I'm sorry you didn't find my first note interesting enough to give me a call. Genuinely though, I don't understand why a house hasn't sold. Week 3, I'm going to ask you 4 questions, or 3 questions, whatever those questions were. If the answers to no to any of these, we should talk. And they were questions like, if you know what you know, if you knew then what you know now, would you still pick the same estate agent?
Yeah. Classic. Yeah.
Number 2 was something along the lines of, based on the last 3 months' activity, do you believe the next 3 months' activity is going to be any different with the same agent? Would you recommend your current estate agent based on their activity to date to your friends and family? Then there was loads of others, right? And that prompted phone calls. Let's say they didn't call me. The 4th one was a little bit more aggressive, borderline. I'm sorry, but the next time I'm going to knock on your door, we need to speak. Your home should be selling. I've been writing to you for the last 3 weeks. You're now approaching 4 months on the market. Surely you must be wondering why a house hasn't sold. And then the 5th one and the 6th one, I've lost count, but the last one was, tell me now, have you heard more from me than your current agent?
Yeah.
And the phone's ringing.
Classic. Yeah. Great.
Then that was standard across the board. And then it was more about, I guess, I was trying to think of similarities. People have asked me this before, but I can't think of any industry. But there's got to be a bit where people think, hold on a minute, let's just listen to this guy, because he's the loudest guy in town. He's the guy that's writing to me the most. His face is everywhere. Everybody seems to be talking about him. Let's give him a go. And again, coming back from the pressure, the determination, the taking part doesn't count. I couldn't fail, and I still apply that policy now. I'm not failing. So
yeah,
it's like water. You give me a crack, I'm going in, and we're going to penetrate. We're going in here, and I took it, and
how
went like.
Ali, how long did it take? You said sort of 6 months of that sort of lead gen, but how long did it take before you really could see, hang on a minute, we've got some serious momentum now?
It was December. It was December. I launched the business July 1. July 1 is when I went public. I remember, I think there was a football match on. There's a joke about this way back, the first video on my Facebook page. I had it all set up, and Laura put the Facebook business live in the middle of an England football match. And I was like, you tit. Absolutely tit. And I've done a video. It must have been my first video on the Facebook page. I went, I apologise. We've just launched the biggest business in the town during an England football match. Bad timing. But anyway, July 1, first paycheck came in December the 3rd. And the run up to Christmas, I was like, I'm busy. And I come out of the blocks in January thinking, don't need letters. I don't have time to send letters.
How did that make you feel, Ali, when you suddenly sitting there thinking, wow, we've got something pretty special here, considering what you've already said on the podcast already, which is going through, the obviously learnings, right? Everyone's going through learnings as to what they should be doing and how they should be doing it, etc. Until that point, what was the emotion when you can sit back and go, this is actually not just I can't fail. I'm now definitely not going to.
It was exciting, really exciting, and I think that's the bit. I'll answer that fully in a second, Matt. But if we think about all these people sitting on the fence about joining their own business, they need to trust that day is coming.
Yeah, for sure.
That day is coming, and when it comes, no matter how confident you are, and arrogant, confident, whatever you want to call me, but I knew that day was coming.
Yeah,
because there's no way that day wasn't coming. I was just going to pedal harder and faster and longer till it came. And that comes back to your comment earlier on, Claire, about the people that right people doing business and self-employed, and are they all aggressive? If you believe in yourself, that day will come. That will come. And when it came, my emotion was like, oh, first, it was relief, really. I was like, But it wasn't relief for me. It was more relief that all these people that waiting for me to fail, I was like, done it. But I'd done it in a town where nobody knew me. But there's a little secret there. Laura grew up here. She worked in all these. So there was a small proportion, probably about a third of the business success is to everyone knew Laura. And Laura's 40, so not too dissimilar to my age. I'm 45. So the people that she went to school with are now family homeowners.
Right.
So there was a proportion of that, and then people that she sold houses for many. So it wasn't just a complete cold start, but even Laura now doesn't do business like me. She would never ever do what I do in the way that she believes some of the fees we're achieving, some of the prices I'm talking about, some of the posts about. She's like, it's not going to be well received. I'm like, well, it is because we're number one. So, somebody's listening. But that comes back to my point about I don't believe it's not going to work because it's not like I've never ever been like there's only one way to do this. I just pivot that quickly. It's like I'll keep going till I find that crack, till that glimmer. I'll keep finding a way, and once I find it, if it happens again and again and again, I said, right, that's the new way. Then that is the new way. That's how we're going to do it, and that's pricing, fees, da 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 da. But to answer your question, Philly Mark, about how did it feel? Excitement, relief. But it was more about how big can this be then? Because it was inevitable, and the last thing I want to sound is arrogant when I say this, but it was always going to be inevitable because the competition here are shit. And I'll hold my hands up and say, I couldn't be this successful in London. I know I can't because the caliber of agents, I keep saying London, there must be other places around the UK, but I've only really worked in London and up here now. But the caliber of agents here are they're just not on my level. And that does, and I'm going to be arrogant when I say that, they're not on my level. And that's become so apparent now because even now, and this is where I go back to, I'm going off on a tangent now, this is where I go back to my KFH days and think, as a director, as a manager, or whatever, I would look at what the competition does and think, right, you've got to know the competition and you pivot and you change and think, well, they're doing that, so we'll do that. Well, they're doing a fee holiday, so what do we do? Da, da, da. Here, so 3 months in, 3 years in now, they're still not doing floor plans. They're still taking photos on iPhones. They're not doing any social media.
Wow.
And that's all I'm doing different. And it's not, I haven't it's not like I'm doing something out of this world. Like I haven't learned estate agency in Jupiter and come back to Newcastle and done it secretly. I'm just doing floor plans with a professional photographer with Facebook every single day. And I am by no way the best guy on Facebook because I'm not doing enough video. There are far better people on Facebook than me. But I'm playing to my audience. And I know, not that I'm going to invite this to happen, but if somebody better came to my town, I'll level up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, as long as it's the whole thing about outrun a lion. I don't need to outrun a lion, I just need to outrun you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the same. I'm better than them. And as long as I stay ahead of them with the odd bit of even throwing in a drone now and again, I've got a guy locally who's like, I really want to work with you. So I've got a drone guy, pay him 100 quid to give me 20 minutes of social media stuff. And it's just like light years ahead of the competition. So that day was always coming, Mark. But now it's about, right, how big can we go? How big can this get?
Well, that's what I want to know. That's what I want to know next. So obviously you're 3 years in. You know, you was sort of 5, 6 months in before you was like, okay, this is really taken off now, and now it's just a case of, you know, how do we not? What was it, Mark, you always say? Like, you know, once you get to sort of the top of your field, it's now yours to kind of throw away, right? It's now yours to lose.
If you allow someone in, then that's completely your responsibility, right? You are accountable now. You've got your market share; it's yours. If you give that up, because someone, as Ali just said, has gone above your level, so it's down to you to make sure you now go above that person. You should never give that up. If you do, then you've genuinely made a mistake, right? So you can try and fight back, but you should never lose it.
Complacency and standing still. And I don't let anyone else in. I mean, so there's two kind of parallel paths that I'm on right now. You've got the EXP path, which is capping easily now, icon agent, run a team, and I've now got my own brand, which was massive here because now I'm on. It's now Harper's property on Rightmove and Zupa, but I'm now building a team. So I've now got Dawn and Emma. So I intentionally in. I think it's similar to what a number of. I believe this is the right way to run a business where it's not about let's just bring on 50 people and see what happens. It's more about well, I've covered Bedlington, right? And I know what I did in Bedlington to get there. I've done a bit here, there, and I've got a good following in the neighbouring towns. But Bedlington is always going to be where I'm an absolute unstoppable powerhouse. And I'm like, right, I need someone to do it in Ashington and the next town, in Crampton, in Blythe and Morpeth. So I've intensely said, right, there's my brand. You're a business partner. You go, I'll give you all the collateral. You just go and kill that town. So I brought Dawn into Ashington. I've got Emma in to do Blythe, the next town. I know these towns will mean nothing to you, but what I mean is the round about me, the next towns.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I am speaking to a chap from South Africa who's going to be coming to Canada, and he's an absolute monster of a guy. Really, I thought I was direct. This guy's really direct from South Africa. Anyway, that's coming. But in the background, I've got the best estate agent in Laura, my progressor. She does all the progression. My mum's my administrator.
Love
So
that.
her number is on Rightmove. So people call and they get the nicest person on the planet to answer the phone.
Love that.
And the reason Laura does the progression is because I won't tolerate a reinhig. What do you mean? You paid £500 for a severe kick in the nuts. Of course, there's something wrong with the property. But don't ask my client to take my. So I'm the wrong guy to handle the customer service calls. But when it comes to conference salesmanship and telling you what we're going to do, that's why I'm at the front of the house. But it's just, for me now, the growth is about maintaining icon status at EXP. I've got to, I talk the talk, so I've got to back up, and I will go, I'll go on podcasts like this and come across as being, this guy thinks he's good, but I've got to maintain that for my own sanity, but also. It kind of lets me off the hook a bit to say some of the stuff I say, because I couldn't say what I say if I wasn't and I'm not saying there are far more successful people in the self-employed space than me, but I'm happy in my world that I'm doing what I set out to do. I've gone out to take market share. I'm improving the way estate agencies in my town, and the business is growing. I'm bringing people in, and I don't see.
How far do you think self-employment, how big do you think the sector gets to? Because every single person so far that we've spoken to, and obviously we've spoken to hundreds of people in doing what we do here, but I think the really good news, and some people that aren't in this sector don't really understand this part of it, but every single person that you speak to that kind of starts this in the correct way, they all are doing it to improve the experience and the journey for the end user. That's where it starts from.
I think it's where it starts, to start, middle, and end. No matter how personal or selfish or self-righteous your path isn't, there's no way you can be successful, in my opinion anyway, in the self-employed space without making a massive impact to your community.
Yeah.
And definitely. And I don't mean that's a broad brush remark, but I don't mean that means you suddenly sponsor the football team and become the biggest charity giver in your town. What I mean is, I know no other way of being successful than to be better than the rest.
Yeah.
Better than the rest is you communicate better. Most importantly, we become. I think I said earlier on about it wasn't really about customer service in the high street. It was, but it was just never labelled as that. Self-employed estate agency is about customer service. If they believe you, if they like you, you get off the hook. And it's not mean we have a free reign to cock this up, but you're a human being.
Yeah.
And I set out on day one to be, and I think I'll put this on my website actually. So everyone has their own barber, their own dentist, their own doctors, their own mechanic. They need their own estate agent. This is or their own property person. And that's why I call the business Harper's Property People, because I want people to deal with us. We're people. Laura, my mum, Dawn, Emma, we're all people. We're just human beings, and we get it wrong now and again. But I've taken away the safety net. 0 weeks. We have to be better than anyone else on every minute of every hour of every day. And whether you've got the 16-week contract, whatever, I believe, I don't know, and you guys might know better, and there could be other people watching this, but I don't think anyone's successful in the self-employed space by doing what they did in the high street.
Agreed.
I agree completely.
I don't think that's possible. Happy to be proven wrong, but I am not the same guy that ran a powerhouse branch in East Dulwich in 2015. I'm not that guy, because I couldn't be that guy, and I don't want to be that guy anymore.
Yeah,
because
totally agree with
that. I know now the KFH managers aren't paid what we got paid, but even now, I remember 2015 thinking, I'm made of money. I'm not that now. I wouldn't go out of bed for that now, based on what we're doing now. And I'm not going to get into incomes, but it's more about you need to understand, once you grab the community get behind you, awfully. But also be memorable. And that's I guess that's the thing. I mean, not everyone's Scottish, good looking and direct, but at the same point, You need something. You know what I mean? There needs to be something people think, that's the guy. Like
See, that's why you're winning. That's why you're winning.
Just yesterday, walking into the school gate, you're the estate agent, aren't you? I don't know this guy. But my face is on every single board in the town.
Yeah.
And my face is like, I've now got I think there must be like 8,000 people in my town. 4,000 of them are on my Facebook page.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. And
And
how did you do that? How did you grow that following? Just through posting?
Every day. Like, and coming back to my point about when I started the business, about I want the 50 best or the 20 best looking properties, I sell some sexy stock. Like, I've had people call me and say, I don't know if my house is big enough for you, Will. I'm like, yes, it is. If you've got four walls and a door, I'll help you. But my business is dictated by, is it going to sell or not? That's probably the premise of, are we going to do business or not? Do you trust me to do what I do? If you don't, I respect it's probably best we don't work together then, because it's not I'm going to tell you what to do, but I only know how to work my way.
Yeah. I mean, is it are you, because I can hear the passion when you're speaking, and that you love to help people, and you can see the excitement when you're talking about what you've built and where this could go. But is it your intention to always be working in the business, or do you have a plan for sort of after that part of your career?
So I'd love to say I'm going to become the guy that works on the business, not in the business, right? But I love it, like. I love it. And this is probably, I've said a lot of things today, but this is probably the most arrogant thing I'm going to say all day. I don't know a better estate agent than me. I don't know a better lister than me. Like, that works hard. And there are some fantastic estate agents out there. And there's probably going to be a lot of guys better than me. But what I mean is, I'll back myself against anyone in this town. Yeah. And I have yet to find anyone that I would say, well, there's the keys. And you may know this guy. There's a guy called Spencer Gilbert, runs Gilbert and Rose in Essex, right?
Yep.
I worked very, very closely with him in Spice of Heart. He was probably my biggest success story at Spice of Heart, because this guy was a machine. He's the first guy I clicked with and went, you and me, if we get 20 of us, we're going to be billionaires, Rodney. This is just a weapon. Like, nothing is a no. I'll do that. I'll find a way. He's an absolute powerhouse. But I remember, I said, we'll never find you again, Spence. There's only one of you. There's only one of you, and I don't know how you do it. And I remember him saying to me, I'm going to run a business where I have a team in every SS postcode. And he was talking at the time, he said, I'm going to buy that BMW. What's the road? What's the road that runs through Essex towards Shoebury-Ness?
Oh, but what, the South End Road, A127.
Right, so when you pass Rayleigh, there's a huge, it's probably still there, there's a massive BMW garage.
It is still there, yeah.
Still there, yeah.
That's my office. I'm going to buy the office, and every single pod, there's going to be an SS team. And I was like, okay, Spence. But I remember thinking, why not?
Absolutely, why not?
But that's my biggest struggle. I don't know. I'd love to think the time comes where Dawn is killing it, Emma's killing it, and I have 7 other people running different posts around me, and I can just step back a bit. But I don't know if I am not even anywhere near thinking about that, because I enjoy it. Like, I love it. I love when the phone rings and somebody says, or not even the phone rings, when the WhatsApp goes off or Messenger. That's super personal. That's not, they haven't just found that number. That's super personal. If somebody WhatsApps you or Facebook message, you think, we're in here, like, we're in. Or a surname, because I think, I know that surname. And you just think, right, we're in. And that.
Maybe you never ever have to get to the point where you just work on it, but maybe you just get choosy about which sexy properties you take on, and instead you sort of gift the other ones to somebody else at some point. You don't even need to think about that yet.
So here's a question. This is one of the questions I don't have an answer to. How do you stop people wanting you, though?
See, this is the point, right? So this is where, and you'll know nurture, because obviously we use it, right? You have to systemize the way that you operate. So, for example, when you take a phone call from somebody, or when you've spoken to somebody on WhatsApp or Messenger, the way you care for that customer from the minute you take that call to the minute you list and so on. You have got to systemize that as a process, because people don't necessarily buy you, they buy the way you treat them. Right. So
It's your standards, isn't it?
it's your
It's your
standards. You
standards.
have got to systemize your standards, because if you leave it to somebody else to operate the way that you do, they won't operate the way that you do. So you can create a systemized workflow that is exactly how you would handle the customer. It doesn't have to be you. It just has to be done your way. That's your next step.
Yeah, no. So I believe we've got that with regards to and I am not concerned if anyone else picks the phone up or who they speak to. I'm not concerned about that. It's more about people. People see again. It's not me personally, but people see the celebrity that is Spencer Gilbert or Don Marcel or whoever, and they think, I want that though. It's like it's a way of saying people always want to speak to the managing director, the boss. They always want to speak to that. Where's Ali though?
Yeah, but see
where's,
that,
and
yeah,
that's not because I offer a better service. That's
yeah.
because it's the personality. Because the service they get from my mum, from Laura, like Laura provides a much better service than me. Laura's customer service is exceptional. My mum's is exceptional. Dawn and Emma have got much more floral and nice and cuddly, and there's nothing cuddly about me. But at the same point, it's blunt. I was blunt force trauma. It's blunt force estate agency. Believe me, I'm going to do this. You trust me, we're doing this. Sit back, relax. If I cock it up, I'll be the first one to admit. And I say that to people. I'll be the first one to fly the flag. But do you trust me? Yes.
Well, then again, it's the language, isn't it? To say, look, I oversee absolutely every single deal. Same as I meet with every single person that joins our market centre, because I need to know that the culture that we've built is protected within this business. I'm not just going to let anybody walk in here and join. I need to know that they are exactly the right type of person for the business that we're trying to build. It's no different to what you're doing. You oversee everything. If there's an issue, they can come to you, but it doesn't have to be you that does it, Ali.
I get that. And I think that's a challenge with everything, though. I think that's industry wide. I'd be wrong to say that's just the stage and say it's the same. Like, how do you replicate it? And it can be done. Obviously, it can be done. Every business started somewhere. Bezos and Branson, and I'm not comparing myself to that, but they all became and then it's leverage. And I'll come back. I'll come back to him again. Spencer. I take my hat off to the guy. How is he running a business that big when he started as this absolute pocket rocket of a lister, and now he's running a monster business. But yeah, it's exciting, like, and I don't see it slowing down. But I think that's half because I'm just pedaling non-stoply and I enjoy it. I have and I'll hold my hand up. There's not a lot of structure to what I do, but it's just let's just go. Like, the alarm's off. Let's just go. Let's go get some. I love it.
The beauty of these conversations that we've been having is that there's not a one size fits all for everybody, right? We've all got different personalities. What works for one won't necessarily work for the other. And what's great to hear is that from the conversations that we've had thus far, how one person started out is not necessarily how the other person did, but you've both got to a level where you're so happy with what you've built. You've got to tap into what your strengths are, what excites you, because when you're passionate about something, it just comes through. And when you're passionate and confident, then people feel confident in you and what you're going to deliver.
Yeah, behaviour breeds behaviour, doesn't it? And a question you asked me, I don't think I've answered yet, is about what did it look like at the beginning? How do you start? It's very simple. Everyone needs to know who you are, what you do, and why you do it. If every day you think, shit, why is the phone not ringing? How many people have you spoke to today? Do they know what you do and why you do it? And I remember that was the kind of basis of my Agents Together mentoring that did. When I through pure fluke, I had a few people that were running sales businesses or like business wanted to change code or bring on another one. And they were like, oh, I run a really good lettings business, but I want to do sales. So how many people know you want to do sales? Nobody. I said, well, you're never going to run a sales business. And it's the same here. And I kind of answered that in a long way previously when I said about this is the Facebook stuff and the comp slips. But that was me psychologically saying to people, this is who I am.
Yep.
what I do. This is why I do it.
Yeah.
And as long as they need someone to hang to. Why have you gone with Ali? Why have you gone with Claire? Why have you gone with Spencer? Why? Because he says he's going to do that. And I am acutely aware, and this is what keeps me on a ragged tip at the sharp end. I can't afford to cock this up.
Yeah.
Not from a financial perspective, not from the business. It's more about my whole business is based on this guy does exactly what's that? Ron Seal, does that what he says in the tin?
Yeah.
Ali Harper does exactly what he said in the lounge. It's got to be that. I might change that. I'm going
It's
I
good.
like
I need to
That's a
get that on
great
social media
caption.
before you guys go anywhere. I need to get that. But it needs to be. But there's got to be, and I think that's the same with anyone starting their own business now. Why you though? Because because as a nation, as a race of people, we don't like change. Why? If I got the bus to school, if I got the bus to work every day, why would I drive? What's the benefit of me driving? I've always worked with these agents. Why would I work with this guy?
Yeah.
They've got to see the difference. Why you? And that's, I know that's a very vague answer, and there's 100 different permutations of what that looks like. But if you were launching a business today or starting a business today with Keller Williams, whoever it used to be, whatever business, whatever model you hitch your wagon to, or even if you don't hitch your model to wagon to a model, just what do you do? And there'll be people who say letters, com slips, Facebook, all of the above. All of the above. I know some fantastic door knockers. I know some fantastic letter distributors who are just glorified postmen. If I'm being honest, I don't know why they do, but it's and there's some really strong Facebook. But there's no right or wrong answer to it. And it's like you're saying there, Claire, everybody has their own way of doing it, but find what works and just be absolutely relentless. Be militant at it. Be the best at that. And I don't even know what I'm the best at, if you know what I mean. In saying that, I don't think like I just know that I offer more than the competition
So you
in
got
my
to know your
crowd.
competition, right? That's important. You got to know
You got
what
to
your
know,
competition
you got to know
does.
what you're up against. You got to know what you're up against, and that's what got me kind of into it. It's like, right, I can't sit back, get on a train for 3.5 hours to London, knowing that my community are just getting subsidized. It sounds like a savior. I'm here to save the day, but it was more about they deserve better. And at the time, I was like, who better to do it than me? So
love it, absolutely love it. Ali, thank you so much for speaking with us. It's been so nice to catch up with you again.
4:15.
I know it's gone so quick, but I've just one more question from me anyway. But is there what haven't I asked you? Is there a question I haven't asked you, or is there something that you would want to get across?
No, with that, not really. I think it's more. I'd like people. I tell you what I want from this, and you guys do your. I'd like people to watch this, and I can't remember half the things I've said, to be honest, because I've just opened my mouth and we've gone for it. But but at the same point, I really genuinely want to inspire people to run their own business, and I'll hold my hands up. I have never ever gone hunting down rev share or whatever, and I appreciate that's the swear word and self-employed stages now. Oh, it's income. I'll help anyone who picks the phone up, and I'll help people come into business. And I've get people in my downline by accident, but I genuinely, and I think there should be. I think the self-employed space will get better with the caliber of people that decide, you know what, I back myself, because there are plenty of people, I hope, watch this and think, I'm better than Ali. I know what I can do. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Just go and do it then. Just go and do it. Because if you genuinely have a failure is no option, and appreciate I'm alienating all the what I classed as the B, the C, the D teams. If you're a starting 11 player or starting 15 player for Taunton Rugby, if you back yourself, just go, Luke. Just go. And I genuinely, hand on my heart, I don't care what model you join, just go and do it, because this isn't about A versus B. It's more about there are fantastic estate agents wasting away in a 9 to 5 with a grey River Island suit, driving a Ford fucking Focus. Get out and go and change your life, because I have, and I didn't mean to really. I just did it because I picked a fight with the agents up the road and went, I'm better than you. So I've gone and done it. And I believe there's so much more that people could be doing right now. And that's not a sales pitch. It's more about there's so much more space in property for people to go and do their own thing and offer a much more bespoke boutique, whatever you want to flout up. Just be yourself, but step away from a major brand and just go and do it.
Yeah.
And that's where there's no exact reason. There's no right or wrong time to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't. There was no right time for me. It happened. I was like, I'm going to do it.
There'll always be a reason not to, right? There's always going to be a reason.
Plenty of reasons, but the crossover is when the reason becomes. What was it? Say, what if I fall? But what if you fly though?
Yeah.
What if you fly? And that comes back to Mark's question about what happened in that January. I was like, here we are. We're here. We're airborne. Like, and it's that in all my time, whether it was top neg, top assistant manager, top branch, winning awards, going to ski, the absolute pinnacle. And I guess I didn't give that question enough attention or credit, Mark. That point in January was like, oh, we're there now. The biggest moment. It was like, fine. I don't need to go out in the rain and deliver any leaflets anymore. We are off. Like we're away, and there was no way we were slowing down. It was we find another gear, and that's the thing. Everyone talks about the wall, and the wall is there. The wall is there. I didn't recognize the wall because my head was head down, bum up. Just go. Just scrum forward. Just go. And I didn't see the wall, but there's plenty of people in my world that I've worked with and coached and mentored, and I see that wall and I think, yeah, but hold on a minute. Don't worry about that. Look what happens next month, though. Believe me, next month is a game changer because I look at your 4 months or my 4 months. Your 4 months are better than my 4 months. So don't worry about wall.
Yeah, it's kind of trying to find that. I always say it's trying to find that happy place, isn't it? And once you've got there and you're there, I don't think there's too many better feelings than when you can sit down and just go. I mean, you wake up in the morning and you just go, I'm really happy.
Yeah.
Like that's what everyone's striving for. We can talk about monies and financials and everything else, but it's far deeper than that, isn't it?
It comes with you need to believe it's there, though.
Yeah.
I can tell you, you can tell you, we can all say, oh, the day is coming. But if you don't believe it's coming, or you don't back yourself to get there, my advice,
it may never come.
Don't start then. Don't do it. But if you're like, it's coming, don't know when, don't know where, don't know why, but it's coming, then do it because it will come. Because if you say you're going to fail and you say you're not going to fail, you're both right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing. I think that's maybe the wrong. But do you know what I mean? It's just, and so there's not really a question I haven't asked, but I think hopefully people look at this and think, yeah, why not?
Yeah,
I think they will.
I think they
nothing
will.
to lose.
I think you've done your job.
Absolutely, you have. Absolutely, you have.
Okay.
Hopefully this won't be the last time we speak for a while. It'd be great to catch up again soon, Ali. But honestly, so happy for what you've achieved. It's good to see you so happy as well and the family. And be great to catch up again soon. But thank you so much for your time.
I really appreciate it. I'm humbled and honoured to be invited on. Thank you very much. I'm just glad somebody wants to listen to me. Thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate it.
No worries, darling. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.